When we think about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he didn't know how to read or write. Hitting the mark every time is actually proof enough that he was a true prophet.
I said I am a deist, and for the prophet, frankly, I don't believe in him. So I think he was a smart guy, and as per the requirements of his time, he thought it was a mess. To guide them, I think he chose this method himself.
Okay.
That was a good governing method, as far as I can tell. He was able to keep things under control.
So what makes you say that he was not a true prophet?
Frankly, I don't need any religion. As I said, this is between me and God. That's why everyone's belief is their own.
Hello and welcome. What's your name?
My name is Yavuz.
I'm Metin. Nice to meet you. Yavuz, what do you do? What is your profession?
I'm a student.
Which university?
Chankey University.
Well, nice. So what do you do as your extracurricular activity? How do you spend your time?
I prefer spending time with my friends, or I can take time out for myself. Yeah, something like that.
How are you with science?
I mean, I can say that it's out of my league, really, but let's just say I try to read as much as I can. I try to stay up to date. Mostly I read about genetics, so let's just say I try to keep up with it.
That's great. Now, we've been looking into a few scientific developments. We read about them and thought about going out and sharing them with people so they can also benefit. Maybe you're studying these things that I'm going to share with you coincidentally. Let me tell you about one of those things. At Stony Brook University in the US, a study was conducted on sleep. The research found that when people sleep on their right side, a cleansing activity in the brain takes place that prevents the possible onset of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's diseases. It's an astonishing find, really, a fine, sensitive thing. But it's not just that. For instance, a person can sleep on his left side as well. When you sleep on your left side, organs pile up on your heart and put pressure on it. This makes it unable to perform as usual. But when you sleep on your right side, the heart stays on top and operates normally as usual, and the person starts the day energetically. Sleeping on your right side has an actual health benefit. Another thing is pouring cold water on your feet just before leaving a shower. Do you do this?
To be honest, just before finishing a shower, I bathe in cold water for a few minutes, but as I said, I didn't know about pouring water on the feet. I didn't know.
This has the following benefits. A person using hot water, it doesn't matter whether for a long period or a short period, staying under hot water causes blood activity to increase in the expanded vessels. So once blood circulation starts to accelerate, the body's defense mechanism begins to strengthen. It reduces the risk of a person's blood pressure dropping. It is a very simple practice, isn't it? Putting your feet in cold water on the way out. The information mentioned above, when you take a look, it has come to light only within last 100 or 150 years. Now I ask, is it possible for someone to have known these things 14 or 15 centuries ago?
Maybe, maybe not. It might be possible because older people, they know things through trial and error, and sometimes we just find out, or we realize them in a new way. Maybe it's possible. I don't know.
It is possible, just like you said. All of these things that I told you are actually the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Have you ever heard these before?
Never heard of them. I just heard these. It's surprising, of course.
Do you know what's more surprising? Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was in fact somebody who didn't know how to read or write. But when you take a look at his daily life, there were a lot of practices like these. There are a few more I haven't mentioned yet, and even more that I haven't included in this interview. Even though he didn't study anything, everything he told us is something useful for human health.
Of course, there's some truth to it. The research was conducted after all. This is interesting, surprising, and new information for me too.
Absolutely. By the way, are you Muslim?
No, I'm not.
Atheist, deist, or something different?
Deist.
About deism. In fact, there's one more thing. As an example, let's go back in time 500 years. Technology now is really advanced compared to 1500s. There's a history of 500 years in between. In that 500 years period, even though scientists are experts in their fields, there were so many mistakes that they made. For example, one of these was an engineer named Will Pickering. He was an engineer at NASA. There was an epidemic in the period he lived, and as he observed the surface of the moon, he saw dark objects on it. Normally, when we look at it, we see black spots on the surface of the moon, don't we? Do you know what he thought those black spots were? He thought they were houseflies. He thought there were very dense clouds of houseflies living there. This is very trivial information. You may find it on the internet easily if you search for it. You can look it up. You can search. And this person, he believed it and he was defending it. Apart from him, you must know Galileo. Do you know what he said? Any object, no matter how high it is thrown, he thought it was going to hit the ground at that same speed. But of course, it's been proven otherwise. You know Leonardo da Vinci, for example. When he looked at the surface of the moon, he thought the brightness of the surface was because of an excessive amount of water covering the surface. These guys in their respective fields contributed very much, didn't they? information, research in their fields, and they knew how to read and write. The lenses had been invented. They made observations using those lenses. They're people who devoted their lives to the things I told you about, because these were their fields of interest. Even in the matters that people were experts, they still made mistakes. However, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, didn't know how to read and write, and everything that came from his mouth, his words are definitely good for human health. Those are the words of wisdom. Even the aforementioned people made mistakes. Hitting the mark every time is actually proof enough that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is a true prophet.
I said I am a deist, I'm a human. And frankly, the prophet is not. I don't believe in him. So I think he was a smart guy, and as per the requirements of his time, he thought it was a mess. To guide them, I think he chose this method himself.
Okay.
That was a good governing method as far as I can tell. He was able to keep things under control. In the examples you have given, some things have objectivity, but as I said, some of the things that the prophet tried, at least in some of them, there was trial and error. I think some of those had been tried before and known to be wrong. But the previous example you gave was more scientific, things that require more research. So the moon is a satellite after all, and it's like many thousands of kilometers away. So there could be a high margin of error here. But as I said, salt or sleep, etc., these are a little bit more like trial and error. It's easy.
Look, it's obvious that they can't be known by trial and error. Our Prophet, peace be upon him, not only proved with his Sunnah, but also with verses from Qur'an that correspond with science, with miracles of science that cannot be found with just trial and error. Look, until the 20th century, no scientist ever mentioned the expansion of the universe. Only one Russian physicist named Alexander Friedman at the start of the 20th century calculated theoretically that the universe is moving, and in 1929, this phenomenon was proven by the observations of Edwin Hubble. But God tells us in Surah Ad-Dariyat verse 47, and the sky was built by us with might, and indeed we are the expanders. Other than that, another one, let me give you another example. In the 25th verse of Surah Al-Hadid, and we sent down iron in which there is strong power and benefits for the people. God tells us, normally we know that iron is mined from underground, however the verse states we sent down, because for the formation of what we call iron, very high temperatures are needed, and those high temperatures are not possible on Earth, not even in the sun, let alone on Earth. The surface temperature of the sun is 6,000 degrees Celsius. The core temperature is 15 million degrees Celsius. If this iron cannot be formed in the sun, where can it be formed? It can be formed in the suns known as novas and supernovas. After a certain amount is formed, the iron causes those stars to explode, and as a result of the explosion, iron is scattered all over space. That's the only way it can get to Earth. All astronomic evidence suggests that iron on Earth is clearly from those giant stars in space. And now I ask you, even the scientists found this information in the 19th century. The Qur'an told us this 1400 years ago. Even though he lived 1400 years ago, although he knew much less about astronomy, and even though he had far fewer tools, there's no error in any astronomical information he transmitted. Whatever he said or whatever is written in the Qur'an could not have been known by a person living at that time, neither by trial and error nor by observation. So this person was definitely a prophet. This book is God's book. The author of this book must be the architect of the universe. So what makes you say that he is not the true prophet?
Frankly, I don't need any religion. As I said, this is between me and God. Everyone's belief is their own.
Got it. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us. It was a good interview. Take care of yourself. See you again.
Hello brothers and sisters, and thank you for watching the video. If you want to take a look at more of our videos like this, you can check the playlists we created specifically for you on the right, or you can check out our latest videos on the left. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel so that we can reach and benefit more people. See you.